in operations like they are with leasing and rental assistance. Okay, so I want to direct you to some of the resources here. Okay, I definitely, if you haven't checked out HUD's resources, please do check those out. You can find that all if you haven't looked at that. You can find that now. It's actually at hudexchange.info. Now you can go to hudexchange.info and you can go to manage a program and then go to homeless assistance. And then go down to your CoC program competition, eSNAPS resources. And you'll find a lot of really good resources here. Or if you want, you can just go to Texas Homeless Network's website, put your cursor over the balance of state continuum of care. You actually can click on that if you want, and that brings you to this page here. Or you can just keep your cursor there and then move down to CoC resources. This is where you're going to get everything you need for the grant. Click on Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care grant materials, and then you'll see I've uploaded a lot of things to this site. I did late last week, and we'll keep updating it. And as we update it, I'll try to make sure everyone gets an email about that things have been updated. But I would go and look at it often to see what might be new, what might be helpful. If you need to, like I said, use HUD's information, you can actually access that here. This is some resources to help with the eSNAPS features and functions. You can go down and look at the renewal project applicant instructional guide, new project applicant instructional guide, everything that HUD provides on, well, I shouldn't say everything. Many of the things that HUD provides on HUD Exchange you can find here. But again, also look at HUD Exchange because there is a lot of good information, and you're going to find all of your useful resources, or I would say the majority of them, within the CoC program competition / project applicants page. Okay. And we had another question come in from Ben Hyde. He's asking if I could send all the forms that I sent last week, resend them, and I will. I'll send everything again after this call. It's my hope that after this call you can start working on at least the first part of your application and putting together some of the documents that you need for your application package leading up to the call tomorrow, so then you can get some information tomorrow and just carry on with your application work. But definitely take a look at both of these resources. Use them as much as you can. They are really good resources. They will help you out with your application. If you ask me a question, for example, about performance measures, this is going to be ultimately what I rely on. Sure, I'll rely on some of what I've learned from the past, but I'm going to go to this instructional guide to verify that what I'm telling you is correct. So you can always go there yourself and get that information. Okay, any questions right now? Okay, I wanted to leave some time for the last two items using eSNAPS and applicant profile, because I think this is probably, for a lot of you, if you're new, I mean, all of this is important, but if you're new, this might be something that would be important for you to start right now, and that's getting into eSNAPS and start using that. And right on cue, Suzette, you ask, when do we start registering projects in eSNAPS? And this is going to be the first step of that. So first of all, I'm going to just give a quick tutorial on using eSnaps, and if you've never used eSnaps, the very first thing you need to do is go to your general resources. This is also on our website under this eSnaps features and functions resource, or it's on HUD Exchange, and I'll email this out afterwards too. But if you've never used eSnaps, please review that. Read that before you get into eSnaps. And if it's been a while since you've been in eSnaps, go ahead and read it. It's because I think it will be helpful. One of the things that people find most frustrating about applying for these funds is using eSnaps, and it's really not that difficult. Using eSnaps is once you learn how to use it and you know the little tricks. They're not really tricks, but you kind of know what the system allows, what it doesn't allow, how it's easy to navigate it. Then it just becomes a lot easier, and the application process, I think, goes a lot smoother. So if you haven't gone into eSnaps, review those documents first. Do we have anyone on this call? You know what, if you don't mind, just write in. If you've never used eSnaps and you don't have an eSnaps account, please write that in as a question. Just say, hey, I've never used it, so I see how many people we're talking about. Hopefully it's not that many. But if you have never used it, the first thing you're going to do is go to the eSnaps front page. I don't know why it's not popping up. Okay. So if you've been in before, you know you're going to log in with your username and password. But if you've never logged in before, you need to create your profile. All you're going to do is create your user account. You have to do this before you can be connected to any grant. So if you have not done this yet and you are up for renewal this year, do this as soon as you get off this call, and then attach it to your grant. There should be some person who put together the eSnaps account when you initially applied, if at no other time. That person, hopefully they're still around, or at least you have their information. That person, or using their account, you can attach your user account to that grant and use that documentation from HUD to help you with that. Okay, it looks like we do have some that have never used it. So definitely go ahead and sign up your user account. If you have never applied in the past, once you have your user account, then you can start to put together your agency's your applicant profile, and then ultimately your project application. Okay. If you have forgotten your password, you can use forgot password, or if you have shared your username and password with me in the past, and many of you have, or some of you have told me that you want to make THN one of the users under your account, then I should have some of your information that can help you log on. Ultimately, of course, we want you to remember your username and password, so you don't need to contact us. If you do click forgot your password and have HUD reset it, then let us know what that change is if you want us to be able to go in and look at your eSnaps documentation. And a lot of applicants do this because we're able to help them go in and look at what they look at when they apply. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to this page. Okay, so right, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the applicant profile so you can see how to get started on that. Once you have created your username, your password, and you have an account set up in eSnaps, then you would log in using that. And I'm going to log into my fake account here. Okay. So this is an account that I made up just to use as a sample. If you have not been into eSnaps in a while, this may look different to you. I'm sorry, let me stop for a second. Someone's telling me that there's no sound. Can someone type in if you hear me? Okay. Well, hopefully it's better for you, Hermelinda, because other people are saying that they do hear me. Okay, so let me reset. So once you log in, if you haven't logged in a little while, you'll see that this applicant line it looks different than it used to. Used to, it would just say applicant, like Sampleville Homeless Shelter. There wouldn't be a drop-down menu. Now that is an option. So if you have a username that's attached to several projects, you can access them all of those through that one username just by using the drop-down menu. So some of you, it'll still just be one option, but others, you may have more than one option. So that just looks a little different, but just make sure that you identify the application you want to work on. In this case, it's Sampleville Homeless Shelter, and that's what you use going forward. Okay, so you can go ahead and what I would suggest is you move from the left-hand side, move from the top down to the bottom as you work on your application. Always when you go in, if you haven't been in a while, I'd look at your account. Just make sure everything looks good. Again, this is a made-up account, but if there's anything that needs to be changed with that, you can change it at that time. This, if you've been going in quite often, you may not need to go in and check that. If you do need to change your password, of course, you do it over here. One of the things about using eSnaps is don't use your back button. Use the buttons down here. So if it says save, if you need to say something, please save it before you move on. If you need to go back to something, you can go back by clicking here, or sometimes there is a button on the button that says back or forward. Use those. Don't use your browser's back button. Sometimes it'll just make the system, it won't freeze up. It just might kind of go blank for a little bit, but then just refresh if that happens. It should be fine. Okay, so the rest of the work that we're going to do today is going to be in this, under this link. So after you've created your account and you've attached it to the grant you need to attach it to, go into your applicants folder. Now if everyone can do this today, that would be great. What you're going to do is you're going to start out just by looking at this information to make sure it's all correct. So when I go to my registrants list, it looks like, let me go back. See, back to list. This looks like a couple of people, say a father and son or something like that. It's the profile of a couple of people, and it's your registrants list. So look at that. Make sure you have the people on here that you want on there. Earlier I went through and looked at this, and there were some people on there that I didn't need on there anymore, so I deleted those people off. And to add people on this, all you need is their username and email, I believe. If you need to add someone, you click on this link. That's like linking them to this account. I'm going to type in THN. And I try to add him. I think Ken is one of our, well, I guess he's not. Okay, I think that will work. So you attach that registrant, and you can see that now. My other THN username account is attached to this grant as well. If I want to delete that person off the grant, I click Remove from Registrants List. Okay, it's that simple, but I would check into that first thing. And again, always use the buttons down here. So I use the button for back to list. This, with the house, it's just the parent application. You can look at it. It's just kind of, it's for your information. You really don't need to do anything with that. So if you're curious about what that is, that's it. This is what you need to look into. This orange folder, this is your applicant profile. And remember, this is one of the things that you're going to have to download ultimately and submit to us. If you're a returning user or a renewal grantee, when you get to this page, this is probably going to be grayed out. For example, it's going to look like, let me show you an example. Oh, actually, it is already grayed out. It shows that I've already completed this. So let me go back. When you get to this page, actually, I don't think you're going to be able to tell whether or not you've submitted this application or not. But when you get in, if you are a renewal user, the first thing you probably should do is just go down to number 6, Submission Summary. Click on that. If this below here is grayed out, see I can't push it. I'm trying to click on it. If that complete button is grayed out, that means that it is listed as completed. I'm sorry. Let me back up. I told you wrong. If it's grayed out like this, it looks like it's not been completed actually. So it's not been completed. If you see a button that says Edit, then you can press Edit so you can go in and make changes. I'm sorry for that mistake. What it's waiting for me to do in this is to upload a few documents that I took off when I was preparing for this. So if you see it grayed out, then you know you have some things to upload. So I would just go through this. The first thing I would do is just go through this each page and see what it is that's listed. If you're brand new, you'll be going through this and answering the questions. All of you will choose project application or project applicant because we're the collaborative applicant. You're the project applicants. So click that and do Save and Next. Okay. Then you get your organization information. You should be able to, most of this should be pretty easy for you to answer. Some of you may need to get the EIN number or your tax ID number from your executive director. So that's important that you put that in there, of course. Make sure you put the correct address. If the mailing address is different than the address above, indicate so. Click Save, and you'll be able to put in your mailing address. In this case, I'm saying yes. When you hit Save, that after you've clicked anything, always hit Save before you move on, because when you do that, it may open up more fields for you to view. Okay, you can see it closed that field. Also, with every page, if you look up here, you see instructions. Click on Show, and it will show you some more detailed instructions. So HUD tries to give you instructions along the way, so use those as you go through. Okay. Then you put in your contact information, your authorized representative, and then later your alternate contact. For some of you, you've had some changes in your agency, so you'll likely need to update this. So please go ahead and do that. Sometimes this happens. When this happens, just do refresh. I think it's actually because of the internet browser I'm using. I'm using Firefox, so Internet Explorer might work better for you. And I do see some of you have asked some questions, and I will answer those in just a little bit. Okay, when you get to number 4, they're asking for additional information. Again, if you need the instructions, look into here. And sorry about that. I shouldn't be so stubborn about the browser I use. What you're going to do first is, obviously you can read your instructions up here, but you need to identify what your congressional district is. If you are a renewal application and you've not moved, unless something's really changed, you might have the same congressional district. But to be just very safe, what you should do is you should go to our website, and you can click on online resources to utilize when working on your grant. You can see here, this is a website to help you determine what district you're in. And I'm going to say Texarkana. Just click enter, and you can see what district you're in. So this will be another one of the things that I email to you later. But go to our website to get a lot of these resources. So you'll identify what congressional district or districts you're in. For some of you, it could be more than one. And so, for example, safety in Mount Pleasant. I think you all might be in more than one congressional district because you have scattered site projects over, and I hope I'm not wrong about this, over I think 4 or 5 counties. In cases like that, they may have more than one congressional district to identify. Number 2, you identify whether or not you're a faith-based organization. You apply whether or not you've received a federal grant. If you're a renewal applicant, you need to put yes here because this is a federal grant. And then you need to identify whether or not your code of conduct is already on file with HUD. Again, this is something that we have the information for, and I'll email that to you. I'll also put it on the website. I noticed I didn't have that on the website, but there's a website that identifies all that. I won't show it to you right now. It takes a little while to get there, but I'll send you the hard copy of all of the code of conducts in Texas, so you can look at that. If it's not on file, then you'll have a chance to upload it a little bit later. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break for some questions here. Okay, Atlanta asked if we have the up-to-date HUD forms for the applicant profile, and I'm actually going to show you that now. Okay, and if David Orr asked about their project being grayed out. If it's grayed out where you can't hit complete, then there's probably one form that you need to update. So when you go to your submission summary, if you can't hit complete, there is something that needs to be updated or something that needs to be included that it's still lacking. Suzette asked, she asked if the congressional district is part of headquarters or the project. So, for example, in a case like Safe Teas, their office is in Mount Pleasant, but they have housing projects in counties, 2 counties away. So in their case, that would be both, so headquarters and project. And actually, Suzette writes in again and says that HUD HDX has a template for codes of conduct, and that would be great if you could send that, Suzette. I have a sample I can send out too, but that might be something that's better. Okay, and then one more question before I move on. Carol Gresham asked, if the forms are the same except that they were dated for 2013, will we just leave it, or do we need to update each year? And the answer to that question is it depends on what forms. So as I go through, I'll identify which ones you need to update. Okay, so we'll move on to number 5, attachments. Okay, this isn't showing up correctly. Don't worry about it. If you're using Internet Explorer, this will probably work much better for you. All right, I'm sorry about this. Let me just go straight to Internet Explorer. All right, bear with me here. This is why I keep a list of usernames and passwords. Sometimes with these maps you will have some technical problems. All right, let me go ahead and go back. So just got to see if Firefox will work. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. When you get to number 5, attachments, the first thing that you'll see is HUD Form 2880. This is your applicant/recipient disclosure update report. On our website, you'll see a link to all of your applicant profile materials. So if you click on applicant profile forms, you'll see a compressed file open up, and you can go ahead and go into that, and that will open up for you a list of all the materials that you need for that for the applicant profile. Okay, I'm trying to show it to you here. Okay, so your applicant profile forms, the first thing you'll need is the HUD 2880. Now this is something that, as Carol asked earlier, do we need to submit updated information? This is something that they want updated. So if you have this form from last year, just update the information that you need to. For a lot of you, you'll have these sections up top already filled out. So you may need to update Part 2. If you've had any other governmental assistance provided, you would identify what that is in this section, and then make sure to have your signature and an updated date. So you're going to update that, and then you'll save that. I'm not going to save it right now, but you'll save it, and then you'll upload it here. So you upload it by clicking on the document type, the applicant recipient disclosure update report. Give it a name. 2880 is fine, and hit browse, and then you can pull it from your computer. After you've attached it to that page, make sure to hit save or save and back to list, but make sure you hit a button that has save on it. So now you can see that it is uploaded. If I want to see it, I can click on the magnifying glass and you can make sure that you've uploaded the correct thing. I would go ahead and do that if I were you. After you upload it, just make sure that it is the right document. And here it is. So, well, that's not actually it, but I did upload it, so you can take a look at that. Okay, then you click Next. And this is your disclosure of lobbying activities. If you do not do any lobbying, which I assume most of you do not, you don't have to complete this. But if you do, complete this and disclose those activities. That form is also provided in the compressed file on our website. Let's see if I can show you what it looks like really fast. So this is it. So this is what you would fill out if you do any lobbying. But again, I don't think that would apply to the majority of you. Next page is the Code of Conduct. If you already have something on file, this is not required. If you're brand new, you definitely will have to upload something. Like Suzette said earlier, she has a sample that she can send us. I also have another sample if you want to look at that. And you can use that to create your Code of Conduct and upload it. And you do it the same way that you upload the Form 2880. You click on this, give it a name, and then you pull something from your computer that you've already saved. I mean, I would just put together everything in one electronic folder, everything that you plan to submit, and then after you put everything in that folder, then go here and start pulling from that folder to your applicant profile. I don't want to save this, so I'm going to just say back to list. Okay, I'm going to click Next. Okay, now this is another form that I would just go ahead and update this every year. I'm not sure that it's absolutely required to update every year, but just to be safe, I'd go ahead and do that. So look at it and make sure that it is the updated version. If it's not, go ahead and fill it out. I mean, it's easy to fill out. You just type in your applicant name, the program, and then you just sign it and date it. Now, if you have any workplaces that are on file that are not identified, you can click here. But the majority of you, it's just you just have to fill out this one form. So go ahead and update that this year too. Should be pretty easy to do that. Your nonprofit document, you do not need to update this if nothing has changed. And I think for the majority of you, nothing will have changed. And I'm sorry, it's not coming up. Okay, there we go. So when you go through, just look at it. Make sure it's the same one that you want. If it is, you can definitely leave it there. Okay, so that may just be a matter of clicking Next for you. This is another one that I think you should update every year. And I will have a blank form for you, but go ahead and look at it and make sure it is updated. If it's not, I think the majority of you will not be updated unless you've already gone on and done this. Actually, I think someone who's on, at least one of you, has gone in and done this already. Oh, it's not that form, I'm sorry. It's this form here. It's really easy to fill out too. All of these forms you can get done today. So go ahead and fill this out. No, there's not even a place to sign it. So you just fill all this out, answer those questions, and then you upload that. Okay, now HUD doesn't ask for any other attachments, but just to be safe, I want every applicant to attach their certificate of consistency to their applicant profile. I just want to make sure that we get it. Each one of you will need to put together that certificate of consistency, and what it's certifying is that you're consistent with the consolidated plan. So you will need to work with your city or your community development office to get this signed for your program. In communities like Longview, where there are several applications, several project applications, they can put together all their projects under one of these forms. Excuse me. So they get someone at the city, their authorized signer at the city, to sign on behalf of all those projects. If you've been renewing for a few years, you know exactly how this works. So I would just identify one person in your community and do it now. Identify a person that's going to go gather those signatures for all of your projects. Some cities will require a lot of detailed information about the projects before they sign it. I think Galveston last year was like that. So I would contact your city officials right away because they may require you to submit some more detailed information about the projects that will take you a little bit of time to complete. There are other project applicants that they don't have, there's not a consolidated plan that they would work under. They would go through the state of Texas. So a project like Carroll's in Mount Pleasant, they go through the state. But most of you, I think, work under a city or region's consolidated plan. So go ahead and submit that with your project application, but you're also going to submit that separately as part of your application submission. And that's the applicant profile. And when you've uploaded everything you need to upload, then you should see a button that says Submit. Okay. You can see that now the Complete button, it's not grayed out. I can actually hit Complete. So you can either export it to PDF at that time and then hit Complete, or you can hit Complete and then export it to PDF. Identify everything you want attached. You don't have to attach this other attachment. That's the certificate of consistency I just talked about. So in this case, I'm just unchecking that, but for you, just keep everything checked. It's easier. And then you'll see it opens up as a PDF. And then you can just save that. And that's what you submit to us. So that's something I'm hoping that most of you can work on today. And then that will get you ready for part 2 tomorrow when we start working on your project application in eSnaps. Okay, I see some people